So today we're here to hear about the OER recommendations for public speaking, and Kaila, Todd, and Darren, I don't know how to say your last name, Darren?
Eppling Fuentes.
There you go. Are here to share their recommendations. They are our experts who have volunteered to do the background work for us to look up what they thought would be some great options for the OERs. So go ahead, take it away.
Great. Good morning, everybody. To get us started, we are going to briefly discuss the criteria we use to evaluate the text that Kaila and I looked at, and then offer our recommendations, and then some overall advice, and then field questions at the end. So we started off with 10 texts. We narrowed that down to a list of 4 to evaluate, and today we're here to recommend 2. So to give you a sense of the criteria we use, this was provided to us from the Kansas Board of Regents as a rubric to frame our evaluation of the various texts that we were looking at. The first criteria was scope and usability. So the text was available in a variety of formats, both PDF, web versions, and then another kind of bonus software is called LibreText that I'll talk about later today. Another component of this was accuracy. We wanted to make sure that the texts were providing accurate information about our discipline, as well as providing accurate citations, resources, etc., best practices in providing kind of the background information that was used in the text. Accessibility and culture was also a criteria. We wanted the texts to be accessible to a variety of learners, to be able to adapt to learning needs, as well as representation of diverse learners as well. So looking at, were there a variety of people present in pictures, examples, speeches, and topics? And then the last criteria was the instructor resources. If a text provided some ancillary materials like test banks, chapter outlines, PowerPoints, the things that really sometimes set apart an open access text from a publisher provided text, where those might be a little bit more robust. So based on those criteria, Kaila and I agreed on 2 texts that we want to recommend to all of you. And the first one is here on your slide, and I will turn that over to Kaila.
Perfect. Thank you, Darren. As he said, I am Kaila Todd. I teach at Johnson County Community College, and I'm going to be talking a little bit more about exploring public speaking. That was written by Barbara Tucker et al. And so we chose this as one of our top 2 recommendations because this is a really robust but really easy to read text for students. It also has pretty strong descriptions and sample outlines available. And as far as the ancillary materials that are available for this text, in our opinion, it far exceeded a lot of the other open access texts. It has PowerPoints available, chapter outlines, test banks. There are several courses in the Canvas Commons if your school uses Canvas Commons available. It also has several examples, like links out to other videos, examples, and things like that. In addition, it is updated really frequently. It was just updated in 2020 and then again in 2023. And so you see frequent updates of this text, which is really nice because I think that allows for some of those, as we see our expectations of cultural diversity changing, we see those being updated in the text, which I think is really nice and helpful. In addition, it also really covers anxiety well, and we really thought that its coverage of fallacies and argumentation was really solid in the persuasive chapter. So as far as content goes, this is a really robust text. I don't know if I have time. Darren, do you think we have time to share the text, or do you think we just want to go to the next one?
I think we have time. Okay,
I'll screen share and show a couple of the different ways that you can access exploring public speaking. So I'm going to share this screen. So the first option, can y'all see my screen here? So the first option is the LibreText, and I feel like this is one of the most accessible options for exploring public speaking because it sort of breaks it down and allows it to be a little bit more modular if you're assigning it to students. If you go to the website where Barbara initially posted it here, you can see it is a little bit less user-friendly as far as like having to scroll, but you can see that it really breaks it down and makes it easy for students to find what part. So even though they might have to scroll for a really long time to find it, it's all right there for them to see. It also is available in several different options. And so I found if you're reading it like on a cell phone, you probably want to have like the EPUB or the Kindle format because the web format doesn't translate as well. But I think that's one of the really awesome things about open access text is it gives us those multiple formats where students can access it based on whatever device they have and use it that way. So this is really, like I said, I really like the section on anxiety in this textbook. I feel like it really goes in depth. I won't make you sit here and look at all of it, but it just really goes in depth. And that was the reason why we are recommending exploring public speaking. And I'll let Darren talk a little bit about our second recommendation, which is stand up, speak out.
All right, our second text is Stand Up, Speak Out. And full disclosure, this is a text that we use at Kansas State University and, well, an adapted version of this text. One of the reasons why this text stands out amongst others is its ability to customize to your individual needs. So to compare and contrast the two, I would say that exploring public speaking goes into significantly more detail about all of the concepts, where Stand Up and Speak Out still has all of the required concepts we need to be able to successfully teach the course, but it allows maybe a little bit more space for you to add in your own material due to its license. And you can also customize Explore Speak Out, but you're not getting rid of content to add yours in, you're supplementing what's already there. So being able to customize it is a really good opportunity. It's also highly organized and easy to turn into smaller modules, as Kaila was talking about with LibreText. And then at the end of each chapter, there are questions and activities that you can assign to your students and or use those in class as you guide your students through the material. Like I said, it covers a wide variety of topics, and I'm just gonna, again, show you what this text looks like real briefly. So many screens to operate this morning. Okay, so with this text, it looks very similar to exploring public speaking in this format. The great thing about LibreText is it allows you to point out some accessibility options for students, particularly they can change color contrast, size of text, margin size. It covers a wide variety of learning needs for students. So kind of regardless of what text you have, if you're using this format, it'll allow you to adapt your text to those. And so on this format, a variety of ways to navigate, but here's the table of contents. And it's easier to scroll, and you can expand to look at the variety of topics within each. For example, this chapter, finding a purpose and selecting a topic, I think is a fantastic example of what this text provides. It really takes students through the speech building process, gives them a lot of resources, but then also provides you space to be able to add in your own material. For us, I actually took a couple of chapters from a small group communication book, because here at K-State, we end our class with a group speech. So the great thing about open access is I was able to find another open access text, bring those chapters into our class, and adapt it to what our needs are in our institution. And I was a novice at doing this, and it took a little bit of a learning curve, but now it's almost seamless on how to bring in material to make these texts really your own and serve the needs of your learners in your specific community. So that is a brief introduction to Stand Up, Speak Out. And then to close things out, I'll turn it back over to Kaila to give us some overall advice when thinking about working with or adapting an open access text.
Perfect. Thanks, Darren. I'm going to just jump right into what Darren was just talking about as far as like adapting and pulling in other materials. I think that OER gives us a really powerful way to do that. And you can do like what K-State did and actually create your own book, or based on our like review, I adopted Exploring Public Speaking in my winter section. And I pulled in like a chapter about outlining from another text that I just linked in Canvas. And so I didn't even have to create something. I could just link that other OER into our Canvas shell, just that one chapter. And so you can either create it or just link it together. And that is something really powerful about OER, is you don't necessarily have to ask your students to buy 2 textbooks to get that. So some other overall advice that we had is when we're thinking about example videos and outlines, some of the texts do have those linked, but you also can pull those in yourself. And so that makes it a lot easier for you to customize if you have a specific way that you want your students to do outlines, or maybe your informative speech is like a little bit more narrow in scope or a little bit more broad in scope than the text is talking about. You can pull those in yourself and either, like Darren was talking about, edit that text or just pull it into your LMS. I think it's also important, just like overall advice, whereas like a textbook, the accessibility is just like right there in front of you. When you have OER, the accessibility really is, it varies based on the format. And so LibreText has a lot of accessibility options. Some of the different download options vary in accessibility. So like the EPUB version of Exploring Public Speaking might not be as accessible, or might be more accessible for some students. So just think about the different formats when you're deciding. And I have like on my home screen, because I've adopted Exploring Public Speaking, if you're looking to use it on a Kindle, use this version. And I think that increases accessibility for students to be a little bit more transparent about that. And then the last thing I wanted to talk about is we made the decision to recommend Exploring Public Speaking and Stand Up, Speak Out, but we also just wanted to let you know about the other 2 that made it into our top 4. And we see these really as like supplemental or advanced text. So I won't talk a lot about them. I just wanted to let you know that these were the other 2 that made it to our top 4. And that was Speak Out, Call In, Public Speaking as Advocacy by Maggie Mapes, and then Messages That Matter, Public Speaking in the Information Age. Both of these were really good texts. We just felt that Exploring Public Speaking and Stand Up, Speak Out sort of excelled in a little bit more of the criteria that we were looking at, but they would be good texts for you to look at as well. And that is really where we're going to wrap up, and I think open for questions.
Thank you, you guys. The thing I noticed when I looked at the 2 texts that you guys recommended is they really do fit exactly the core outcomes for KCOG and all of that. The others that you did, the supplementals, they were missing a couple of components. So they're asking you guys to share links to those textbooks. Could you guys do that?
Yeah, I can drop those in the chat.
Perfect. Thank you. Anybody else have any questions?
See, Melissa, you're asking what's the peer review process for these texts? So I guess Kaila and I here are kind of serving as like the peer review to make sure that they are quality texts for us to use. I can't speak to the peer review process that was used for the authoring of those texts. I know that faculty at other institutions tend to put these together. One of the things I appreciated about Stand Up, Speak Out and Exploring Public Speaking is the degree of citation that they use to support what they're saying in the text. So that gives me confidence of the accuracy of the text. I know that doesn't exactly answer your question, but Kaila, do you have anything to add for that one?
I don't think I have anything to add in addition to what you said. I think that the citations are there. It's very similar in content to what I was teaching. I previously taught out of Lucas, and the content seems similar. So I can verify that it seems similar to what I've been teaching, but I don't know about the peer review process for these texts specifically.
And that's if you're thinking about branching out on your own and writing your own textbook, that's one of the challenges with open access. And some institutions are starting to try to offer support for faculty that are authoring their own texts to then build in a peer review process. I know there's something that K-State's working on, but still early on in the process of giving more support to folks that are kind of going out on their own to do these texts. Thank you, Scott. We appreciate it, and also appreciate you coming to the webinar today. So.
Are there any other questions? Claire put in there that there's reviews out there for the Stand Up, Speak Out in Open Textbook Library. So I'm sure there are reviews for the others as well. Well, if we don't have any more questions, we can go ahead and end this. And I will put this recording wherever I'm supposed to put it. Claire, could you answer that one for me again?
It will go up on the Kansas Board of Regents OER webpage.
There you go.
And also on our YouTube channel.
Yes. So it's going to be available for everyone. I appreciate Kaila and Darren and all the work you guys did. This has been helpful.
Yes, we're happy to do it.
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you, you guys, and we will see you some other time.